Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And we have just, I suppose you call it a quick follow up, really. Hopefully the tail end of it. But this is on the J.K. Rowling women, trans sort of issue that's been going on for a few days now. She's now blasting the Scottish Greens because obviously it was. There was this protest outside the hall where she was giving there was this conference. She wasn't giving the conference; she was attending the conference, and there was a load of trans protesters outside, inadequate men in frocks. All the pretendy Wendy's didn't like the fact that they weren't invited because they're men. But there was some Green politicians there, and of course, that she's sort of saying, is it right that a sort of supposedly mainstream political party, which they're not, they are extremists. But this mainstream political party was standing by while people were basically saying F women. So they're all misogynists anyway. Anyway, she's had a blast at them because she's she's had enough of all this crap, hasn't she? She doesn't understand why politicians seem to be so anti-women. And especially women politicians seem to be so anti-women. It's very weird. But obviously there was a couple of men dressed as women who are Greens. And so, it's not surprising that they just hate everything and everyone because ultimately they're self-loathing, aren't they? They don't actually love themselves, which is why they're so angry with the world and everyone in it. Anyway, we'll take a look at this, see what JK said, and hopefully that'll be this one put to bed. I don't want to be carrying on with this one too much longer, but I just thought it was interesting, her take against the Greens, because you know my opinion on the Greens. Very loathsome lot. Anyway, here goes. There we go. J.K. Rowling blasts Scottish Green politicians after women abused by trans activists at the Glasgow protest. Now we've covered everything that's up to there, but it's the fact that there was Green politicians there, and they're standing by them. This is the party of government that are saying F women. And it's a very strange position to be in, I'm sure. Anyway, the Edinburgh-based Harry Potter author had been a surprise attendee at the Philia conference that discussed issues like FGM and women's rights in places like Africa, Afghanistan and Iran. J.K. Rowling has turned her ire on the Scottish Green politicians who took part in a protest that saw women in Glasgow verbally abused by trans activists. We've covered this in the past video. They were coming in and they were singing all sorts of sort of abusive songs. They were making big claims. They were shouting out insults and things. But to be fair, JK, she took to the stage and she did sort of basically polish one up to look like a complete turd, which he was, of course. But anyway, both Elaine Gallagher, 56, not his real name, who is transgender, and Holly Bruce, 29, took part in the protest. But Rowling, 58, told them they had not done their party any favours by turning up. Of course not. They turning up have basically turned their party into a hate party against women. It already is, and we know that, but now they're sort of doing it officially. She said that elected officials from the Greens stood proudly beside protesters screaming F you at women, including those from Afghanistan and Africa who were meeting in Glasgow to discuss sex-specific harms such as FGM disgraces them and their party. The writer posted to her near 14 million followers on social media platform X. The Scottish Greens have been... That's the first time, that's the first time I've heard it called X where it hasn't gone previously known as Twitter. Well done. Moving on, are we? Anyway, the Scottish Greens have been heavily influential in Scottish government plans to simplify the process by which people can change gender. It was this whole GRR is their baby, as it were. They want this because they don't like women. They want to cancel women. They want the definition of women to be women and mentally ill men for some strange reason. But some women's rights groups and figures have expressed concerns about the prospect of biological men, or we don't need to say biological men, just men, doesn't matter what they're dressing, men, being able to access female-only spaces. The party's co-leaders, the Oompa Loompa and Jeffrey, have previously been accused of fueling hatred towards Edinburgh-based Miss Rowling. Miss Slater even accused Miss Rowling of putting lives at risk. No, the lives at risk is done by the Greens and their awful insidiously evil policies of allowing men into safe spaces for women and into changing rooms where young girls may be, so that these men can get erections by pretending to be women. It's not what people want. And of course, I will just say that if any man walked into a changing room where my wife was, he may well soon find himself to be a woman. I mean, not really, of course, you can't change it, but he certainly wouldn't be waving his cock about. I'd have that in my pocket. Councillor Bruce, 29, had claimed workshops at the event were trans exclusionary, and she added, it is a very good organisation, but unfortunately there are certain workshops which are trans exclusionary. I'm not saying we shouldn't be protecting women from around Afghanistan. Oh, only those women, not women from, like, you know, Scotland. Councillor Gallagher said, it is a major feminist organisation. Yes, that's right, it is. Well done, keep up, there's a good chap. As he's smoking his pipe. I would like for the festival to go ahead without this slant, but the position of so many anti-trans, anti-sex worker activists, the lobbying around this is not acceptable. They try to push sex work as being virtuous. It's not. Sex work is basically modern day slavery, and there's no getting away from it. And don't, you know, I'm not up for calling these people, you know, the W word. I can't say it because YouTube's algorithms, but, you know, the W-R-E word. You don't call them that because they're not. They're human beings. They are human beings who found themselves in this work. But often than not, they're forced into it. And so don't be making sex work or anything like that glamorous and wonderful. It's not. It's very dangerous for the women. Physical, as well as sort of through disease and things. They get abused. They get often beaten by pimps and things. Don't be glamorising sex work. It's not. It's shit. It's absolute shit. And you should be taking the women out of it, not forcing the women into it. Anyway, that's my view. Don't know if you agree with me or not. You know, it's the view I've got. Anyway, if you disagree, fine, disagree, but disagree in the comments, and I will talk to you. I don't. I'm not the SNP. I'm willing to listen, but it's not good and it's not glamorous. Protect women from it. But yeah, having. Just because you want women to be safe doesn't make you anti-trans. It makes you anti-dangerous men, anti-predators. That's what it makes you. What you have to ask why so many of these men want access to where women are, want access to where young girls are. And we've already seen many times, it's a fact, that trans people are 10 times more likely to be what's the word I'm looking for here? Sex offenders. Government's own figures. I don't invent these figures. That's the government's own figures. So it's you know, something you need to be aware of and protect women from. Why do they want to go and sit in our crisis centres? Why do they want to go into DV units? What is wrong with them? Obviously, they're mentally ill. And it doesn't matter what you change on the outside. It's the internal loathing that you've got to cure by psychiatric means. Anyway, I shall round off there, except to say well done. And well done for picking up that the Green is now an anti-women hate organisation, not a political party. Thank you, JK. More I see, more I love. You are a wonderful woman. Tips hat. Anyway, coming up. Now, I know I sit here and I pontificate and I say what I think. I like to think that what I say is not extreme. I like the protection of women and children. I like decency. I like people not being abused or bullied or harmed. I don't mind discourse. I don't mind disagreement of opinion. But I don't like abuse. And when I see abuse, be it an abuse of power or abuse of physicality or just plain verbal abuse, I rile against it. And when I see these mentally ill men abusing women in the street because these inadequate little men think that they deserve more than the women, then I take a side, and the side I take is on the side of women, and I get people castigating. I'm accused of being anti-trans. Here's the thing, I don't give one shit about trans people. What I give a shit about is people I know being abused by them. Now, I don't want any man, and I don't care what you call yourself, you're still a man, going into a room where anyone I know who's female feels uncomfortable with having them in. Changing rooms, you know, dressing rooms, anything like that. Female-only wards in hospitals. Female-only prisons. I actually don't know anyone who's currently in prison who's a woman. I know one woman who's been in prison. And believe you me, she will not have a man in a prison with her. She frightens me sometimes. I love her to bits, but she frightens me sometimes. So any man going in there would be in deep, deep trouble. But, so I don't want it. And, and these people then go, oh, you're phobic, you're phobic. You're not phobic, you're decent, you're normal. And you don't pander to the lies of the mentally ill. Anyway, I'm sure most of my viewers agree with me on that. Nobody is anti them. If some bloke wants to wear a dress, let him. If he wants to be called Susan, I'll call him Susan. But I won't call him a woman. And I won't treat him as though he is a woman. And I won't give him the rights to go into a woman's safe space. Anyway, I shall stop there because it's getting a bit heavier than what I wanted it to be. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button if you agree with me, if you like the channel, if you think that it's worthy. And join us on the quest for truth. Till next time, stay safe, stay well, and I shall speak to you later. Goodbye.